Fiction has created monsters that terrified entire generations, creatures hidden in darkness, and entities existing beyond normal human understanding. Some hunt physically, while others attack the mind itself, leaving fear long after the story ends. The most terrifying fictional monsters survive in human memory for one reason above all else. They represent fears people already carry deep inside. Because those fears are timeless, the monsters connected to them never truly disappear. One of the most iconic horror creatures ever created is Pennywise, a shape-shifting entity that feeds directly on fear itself. What makes Pennywise terrifying is not only the appearance of a smiling clown, but the intelligence behind the creature's behavior. It studies victims carefully, learns their deepest fears, and transforms into whatever frightens them most psychologically. For some, it appears as something familiar, while for others it becomes something far worse hidden inside their own mind. The horror of Pennywise is deeply psychological because fear itself becomes the weapon rather than physical violence alone. Victims are manipulated emotionally long before the creature ever attacks directly. This makes the monster feel personal, because it reflects fears already existing inside the human mind. And that connection between fear and imagination is what turned Pennywise into one of horror fiction's most unforgettable entities. Another legendary creature is the xenomorph, one of science fiction horror's most perfect predator designs ever imagined. Silent, fast, and relentless, the xenomorph hunts with terrifying efficiency inside dark, isolated environments where escape becomes nearly impossible. Its appearance feels biomechanical, almost as if evolution designed something built only for survival and killing. Every movement feels unnatural, yet disturbingly realistic. The creature became iconic because it combines multiple fears at once into a single nightmare. Isolation, parasitic infection, claustrophobia, and being hunted in darkness all merge together through its design and behavior. The xenomorph does not speak, hesitate, or show emotion, making it feel more like a living survival machine than an animal. That lack of humanity makes the fear surrounding it even stronger. Far beyond ordinary horror exists Cthulhu, a massive cosmic entity originating from cosmic horror fiction, like traditional monsters that attack physically. Cthulhu represents something humans cannot truly understand or comprehend fully. It is ancient, incomprehensibly powerful, and so beyond human logic that simply witnessing it can drive people insane. The horror connected to Cthulhu is not about survival, but about insignificance. Cthulhu represents the terrifying possibility that humanity may be completely unimportant inside a vast and unknowable universe. The fear comes from realizing there may be truths so overwhelming that the human mind was never meant to process them. This type of horror removes certainty, replacing it with cosmic scale and existential dread. That idea transformed horror fiction forever by making the unknown itself the monster. Another modern horror icon is the Demogorgon, a creature associated with interdimensional horror and violent predatory behavior. Its flower-like mouth opening into rows of teeth created one of the most recognizable monster designs in recent horror fiction. Unlike ghostly supernatural beings, the Demogorgon behaves more like a relentless animal predator driven purely by instinct. Fast movement and sudden attacks make every appearance feel dangerous immediately. Its connection to another dimension intensifies the fear because it suggests unknown realities existing beside our own world unseen. The creature appears suddenly, hunts aggressively, and disappears back into darkness without explanation. That unpredictability creates constant tension whenever it appears. The Demogorgon feels terrifying because it represents the fear that something unknown may already exist nearby, hidden beyond human perception. Then there is Freddy Krueger, a monster that attacks victims during sleep itself. Unlike physical predators, Freddy removes the only guaranteed escape humans normally have from fear and stress: dreams. Once victims fall asleep, they become trapped inside nightmare worlds completely controlled by him. This concept transformed ordinary sleep into something psychologically terrifying. Because eventually, every human being must sleep, Freddy Krueger created fear from something unavoidable. Victims cannot remain awake forever, and exhaustion itself becomes part of the horror. The idea that danger continues even inside dreams destroyed the boundary between safety and vulnerability. That is why Freddy became one of horror cinema's most psychologically disturbing villains. Another deeply disturbing monster is the Thing, a shape-shifting organism capable of perfectly imitating living beings. In isolated environments, nobody knows who remains human and who has already been replaced by the creature. That uncertainty creates intense paranoia and distrust between survivors trapped together. Fear grows not from appearance alone, but from uncertainty about reality itself. The horror of the thing comes from psychological collapse as much as physical danger. Trust disappears completely because anyone could secretly be the creature without visible signs. Isolation amplifies the fear until paranoia becomes stronger than survival instinct itself. It represents the terror of losing certainty about identity, safety, and reality all at once. In science fiction action horror, few creatures are more intimidating than Predator, an advanced alien hunter that tracks prey for sport. Using cloaking technology and powerful weapons, it stalks victims silently through jungles and isolated environments. What makes Predator frightening is not only strength, but intelligence and patience during the hunt. It studies targets before attacking, turning survival into psychological warfare. Unlike mindless killers, Predator respects the hunt itself, which makes encounters feel strategic and personal. Victims are observed, isolated, and psychologically pressured before direct confrontation begins. The creature transforms survival into a deadly game, controlled entirely by an invisible hunter. This combination of technology, intelligence, and brutality created one of fiction's greatest sci-fi monsters. One of internet horror's most famous modern legends is Slender Man, a tall, faceless figure associated with forests and abandoned locations. Unlike loud or violent monsters, Slender Man rarely attacks directly and instead creates fear through silent presence. It simply appears in the distance, motionless and watching without explanation. That unnatural stillness makes the creature deeply unsettling. Humans instinctively fear things that appear almost human, but not completely correct, and Slender Man perfectly exploits that discomfort. Its lack of facial features removes emotion, identity, and predictability completely. Fear grows because the mind attempts to understand something that provides no human signals in return. This simplicity is what made Slender Man spread so rapidly through modern internet horror culture. In classic Gothic horror, few figures are more legendary than Dracula, the ancient vampire predator associated with darkness and immortality. Elegant, intelligent, and manipulative, Dracula inspired generations of vampire fiction across literature and cinema. Vampires combine multiple fears at once, including predation, seduction, immortality, and loss of control. Unlike beasts, Dracula survives through influence over the human mind as much as physical power. And finally, there is the Balrog, a gigantic fire shadow demon emerging from fantasy fiction. Massive wings of darkness, flames surrounding its body, and overwhelming destructive power make it feel ancient and unstoppable. The Balrog represents primal fear itself, an ancient force rising from deep beneath the world. Its appearance feels less like a creature and more like living destruction awakened from forgotten darkness. The reason these monsters remain unforgettable is because they reflect real human fears hidden beneath everyday life. Fear of darkness, isolation, the unknown, loss of control, and the realization that some truths may exist beyond human understanding all appear through these fictional creatures. The greatest monsters survive not through strength alone, but because the fears connected to them never fully disappear from the human mind.